Welcome back to the Coffee and Bible Time podcast. For those that may be listening for the first time, our podcast is an offshoot from our main platform, YouTube. Our channel is called Coffee and Bible Time, where our goal is to help people delight in God's Word. We also have a website and storefront with Bible studies and the most helpful heirloom prayer journals you have ever seen and more. I'm Mentor Mama, and today we are going to be talking about learning to share your faith with confidence. But let's first consider why sharing our faith is important. I want us to look at a few scriptures. 1 Peter 3:15 says, "But in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect." Colossians 4 verses 5 and 6 say, "Walk in wisdom toward outsiders, making the best use of the time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person." 2 Timothy 1:8 says, "Therefore, do not be ashamed of the testimony about our Lord, nor of me his prisoner, but share in suffering for the gospel by the power of God." And the last one I want to mention today is Matthew 28, verses 18 to 20. "And Jesus came and said to them, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." So the Bible makes it very clear that each and every one of us is called to share our faith. But what does the reality of sharing our faith really look like to you? Is it scary? Or do you just not know what to say, maybe? Or maybe you actually have shared your faith and then nothing happened. We must keep in mind that we can't open someone's heart to the truth of the gospel message. That's only something that God can do by His Spirit. But the most amazing thing is that God allows us to be part of the witnessing process and share in His joy. If you feel ill-equipped, remember that God does not call the equipped. He equips the called. And as Christians, we are called to share what Christ has done. Well, our guest today, Rajat Dimon, Rajat will be sharing his own journey of how God has called him and equipped him to boldly share his faith in a demographic where that is not always welcomed or easy to do. Our guest today, Rajat Dimon, is a born-again Christian from northern India. He comes from a Hindu background, and at age 16, he got to know Jesus Christ. And since then, he has been following Jesus. Currently, he runs a YouTube channel called Biblical Dimon with a vision to answer difficult and critical questions raised against the Bible, Christian faith, and God. Please welcome Rajat.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your lovely introduction.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So, for our listeners out there, Rajat had reached out to us, and when I read about his background, I was just in awe of his story and what he's already on the move to accomplish in the name of Christ. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Rajat. Why don't you give us a little bit of a background of yourself and what Christ has called you to do with your life?
Sure. So first of all, I want to thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. And I'm one of the subscribers and the viewers of Coffee and Bible Time.
Thank
I
you.
frequently watch it. I mean, weekly I watch it. and I really like your content. So, well, I'm Rajat Dhiman, a born again Christian from India, more specifically, northern part of India. I was an entrepreneur and I founded startups and I ran a IT company at a local level. But now I am committed to extending God's kingdom. Currently, I'm running a YouTube channel called Biblical Dhiman, where I invite Christian scholars, philosophers, theologians, professors, apologists, and others to answer some difficult questions raised against Bible, God, and the Christian faith. And for earning, I am translating Christian apologetics content into the Hindi language for an organization based in the US. Moreover, I am pursuing an apologetic course from Reasonable Faith by Dr. William Lane Craig. And in my church, I am serving as a youth leader. And that's all about me.
Oh, wonderful. So tell us how you came to saving faith in Christ.
Okay, so as I said, I come from India. So I was born Hindu because those who are Hindus are those who live beside the Indus River. So geographically, I'm a Hindu, and my parents followed Hinduism. So they believed in idol worshipping. So obviously, that makes me to follow Hinduism. So we had 33 crore deities we used to worship. I mean, not all at once, but our faith, Hinduism, believes in 33 crores deities. So since beginning, since childhood, I had this faith in theism, that really there is God exists, who listens, who, when I used to go to a temple every week, and every Indian home you will find, Hindu home, you will find a temple at home, a small home. Somebody has a dedicated room. Some have one wooden box. So every day in the morning and in the night, in the evening, we used to worship. You can talk to them. You can share your thoughts, like we do in Christian, you do prayers. So in Hinduism also. So I really had a genuine faith in idols. And I had a good education. I was a good student. My father was a government employee, and family was good. I have my mother, elder brother, and elder sister. So life was sorted, and I was living in one of the best cities in India, that is Chandigarh. So life was pretty well. Now, rest of the part of my story, I would like to tell it into three tragedies. So tragedy number one. So everything was going well, and at the age of 16, my father died.
Mm.
So he passed away, and my family was in chaos. And because he was the only bread earner, and we were short of money, we were really depressed and devastated how it happened. And we never faced such situation in life.
Mm.
So we were broken because we had no support at all of any kind. And that brought many chaos in my life and my brother's life and my family life, because we were the young boys. So it really impacted us. But uh, during this time, one of our cousin brother came to console our family. So he was a new believer. He became a new Christian. So he just came, our cousin, and he's just talked to my mother and all of us and shared about Jesus. So for all of us, for Indian, Jesus is a Western God. So because we know that there is Christians community, because in schools we have national holiday on 25th December. So we had this idea that Jesus is a person or a God who Christian believe in, right? So we didn't have any clear idea. So our cousin brother, just pushed us, or just said us, why don't you go to the local church? Just go and attend. So that is a non-denominational Pentecostal church. You can say Pentecostal church. So we said, okay. My brother and I said, okay, let's go. Let's see if, because we honor our cousin brother. So we said, okay, if he's saying so, we must go. So we went to the local church. For me and for my brother was like a new thing, because we never worship God like this. And keyboard, playing guitar,
Mm.
everybody is crying and raising their hands up. And for me, it was new, because I was 16 years old. I had no idea. I was not interested at that all in that all. But I still kept going to the church, because my brother got the baptism of the Holy Spirit on the first day when he entered the church, local church. So he was crying like anything.
Oh.
So because of his conviction, I
Mhm.
used to go to the church with him, to accompany him.
Mhm.
So so in our church, that is now my home church. So in our home church, so we have a banner on the stage, and in that banner there was a verse was written, John chapter 8 verse 32. And it says, You shall know the truth, and truth shall set you free. So I used to go to church, and these two words, truth and free, always got, draws my attention. I got attracted to those two words, truth and free. So I had said, why don't I just search on it? Why don't I search on Jesus? So at that time, I didn't have phone, I didn't have internet, I didn't have computers at home. So I used to go to my friend's home. He has a laptop, he had this internet connection. I used to search on the internet who Jesus is, and what is the difference between Christianity and Hinduism. So all this I did research, and I kept asking questions to the past, and started hearing the testimonies from people like that what is happening and who Jesus is. Slowly, I got convinced that God is much more bigger than these idols. And that really convinced me logically and rationally that God is not in idols. And I got fully convinced with that thought process. And my quest for knowing Jesus increased. My quest for reading the Bible got increased. And I said, and I come to the conclusion, yes, Jesus is God. So I just decided to follow Jesus, because Bible started making sense to me, that what I'm worshiping, images, the stones, these are not worthy of my worship, because these are the created gods, not God who is in the heaven. So I was really convinced that with thought. And during this time, after spending some months and years, uh, I got the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and right after that, I got the water baptism. So I started going to church regularly, starting attending fellowships. I became a part of the worship team, started playing drums at the church, in the
Hmm.
church. So everything was pretty going pretty good. And then I started sharing my faith with my friends, with my random strangers in the parks. I started evangelizing. So things were pretty good until the tragedy number two happened. So
Hmm.
tragedy number two happened is that I was in the school that time in 12th standard, and after 12th standard you go to the college. So in 12th standard I got failed. I don't know why, and I was so sad that how I got failed.
Hmm.
My faith was going good. I was really saying to God that I did everything, because Hinduism, you believe in the karma, your man's doing to attain God's favor. So I said I was doing everything. I was reading Bible, I'm going to the church, I'm a part of the worship team, I'm evangelizing, but still this tragedy happened. So I reappeared for the exam. I got failed again
Hmm.
in that particular standard, in 12th standard. So I said, oh, what's happening? Then I reappeared again. I failed again. So it took me 3 years to complete that 12th standard, years. So in these 3 years, I was so much depressed,
Hmm.
frustrated, angry, self-loathing, anguish, agony, and it started to unbelieve. It turned out to be unbelieving. And but by the prayers of my family and my church members, I finally passed out that 12th standard. So in those years I was starting to thought I started to feel like that I'm good for nothing, I'm useless, because my friends are going to college now and I'm sitting at home and I'm believing in real God, and still I'm having these kind of issues. What's going on with me? But moving on, then I started at the age of 21, I started the entrepreneurship. I said to my family that I don't want to study, I don't want to pursue study, because I'm really fed up with these 3 years. So I just started the entrepreneurship, and I started three startups, and they were really going good.
Hmm.
I got success. The things were really going good. And I got recognition from I was appearing on the newspapers and magazines, and I know the ministers are tweeting about me that I'm doing a good job and especially for the students. So in my city, I was I had a really good image. So things were going good, and I became very ambitious. And that when you are young, these things are very lucrative. Money, success are very lucrative. You just want to get into that and leave everything behind. So I that hunger and love for money started increasing in me, and I thought, and my focus got shifted from uh, God is doing to I can do by myself. So I started giving credit to myself.
Hmm.
Then I entered into the tragedy number three, that confidence turned into pride. Okay, so I became worldly in every sense. I started doing unethical things. I started lying with my clients, with my employees, and I got influenced by with other worldviews because before coming to Christianity, I never searched and read about other worldviews and other philosophies. I came to Hinduism and started studying just Christianity. So I was just following that Christianity. But when I got into this entrepreneurship world, when I started meeting with different kinds of people, atheists also, um, agnostics also, then those worldviews actually started hitting me. And I was like, oh, and I never thought about from their point of view. And then this third tragedy, I started doubting my faith, and I found that Bible is full of do's and don'ts. And I said, I don't want to read the Bible. I want to get knowledge these people have. These people are more smarter than me, more intellectual than me. Then I started reading philosophers like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Friedrich Nietzsche, Osho. I started reading Vedas and other religions. And I found all these better than the Bible because it allowed me to do what I really want to do. It allowed me to do the lifestyle which Bible says is wrong. It allowed me to do such thing which I really want to do, like worldly things. You know what
Mhm.
worldly things are. And I became a nominal Christian. I became nominal. I said that for my family, I will go to the church because my family were really devoted to Christianity, and I was like, they didn't know what's going on with me. So I thought, for my family's sake, I will go to the church, or if they want, I can do whatever they want. But I don't want to believe in that Christianity fully because I want to become more intellectual, more knowledgeable, because Bible is full of do's and don'ts. But I kept feeling that someone is saying that, Rajat, you are doing wrong. That voice in my head and my heart was saying, Rajat, you are doing wrong. And that was the voice of the Holy Spirit
Mhm.
who was reminding me, because when I was really going good in that, when I became Christian, then I was really too much focused in the word. So I started reading those words, and those words started to, Holy Spirit reminding me. But I said, no, this is my voice. I kept ignoring the voice. And my lifestyle became like First John 2:16. Bible defines in First John 2:16 that for everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from Father, but from the world. I was exactly like First John 2:16. And I reached to the conclusion that Bible is just like any other book written by some random people. It is depthless. It is blind faith, and it is full of do's and don'ts, and it is non-impacting. And I said that if God, you exist, then you must finish the evil and sufferings in the world. Okay, so I was so much influenced by other values, so I started doubting. I found Bible conservating. But one thing I never stopped is going to the church regularly. I used to go to the church, I used to attend fellowships. And I became so much prideful that I started arguing with the fellow believers online and physically. I started asking them the questions, or you tell me these questions, you answer me these questions. And I start, like, why did God plant the tree? Why don't, God make everyone Christian in a snap of a finger? And
Mhm.
they were like, oh, what are you saying? They were not able to answer my question because I've read all these philosophers. I've started doubting them. I've started doubting my Christian faith. And I that quest for gaining knowledge became so much that I said, I don't want to read Bible. I just want to read these smart people, because they are doing really good in life. They're really doing good in world at a world level. I want to become like them because I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, so I believed and acted on the philosophy and those thought processes. So I started believing in those processes and in those thought processes and those worldviews. But I realized that slowly that ruined my personal and professional life. I had broken friendships. My business was lost, getting lost. Slowly was diminishing. Clients were unhappy, unsatisfied because I've adopted unethical ways to please them. My employees were leaving me. I started. So, as the Bible says very beautifully, that pride comes before fall, and
Mhm.
exactly that's what happened.
Mhm.
I continued seeking knowledge, and so, but this thing was in me that I have to continue seek the knowledge. So I was just randomly on the Google, on the YouTube, and I found a biblical series by Jordan Peterson, a Canadian clinical psychologist, you must be knowing. So I don't know he's a Christian or not, but I'm not following him now. So he had this biblical series, and I just, because I was fan of Jordan Peterson, so I was just listening to him, and he was explaining the Bible so deeply. It amazed me that, oh wow, what is this guy saying? He's not even a Christian, and he's saying such an insightful, giving the insightful views about Christianity. And those things amazed me, and I started to, I thought, oh, I should read the Bible myself. Okay, because this guy getting so much knowledge, because Bible says Bible is a double sword, you know.
Yes.
So when he was speaking, it really pierced into my heart what he's saying, how he can speak so much wisdom, which I cannot get by after reading such philosophers. How can he speak such so well? So I found Bible such a deep book, and I realized that I never read the Bible like this, because I was just reading for the sake of reading, you know, like nominal Christians do. They just read the Bible, they memorize the scripture, they don't even know what is behind the verse. So I started listening to, that drew me to listen to this Christian thinkers, philosopher, apologists, and I started listening to them. I kept listening to them. All my questions were getting answered, and the philosophies I was reading, they were getting failed, because I started reading Bible now very nicely, very quietly, calmly. And I realized that voice which was saying, Mirajat, you are doing wrong, starting saying you are doing right. Okay, so I got all my questions about life, like the four questions of life: origin, meaning, morality, and destiny. Where did I come from? What is the meaning of life? What is good and evil, and where am I going? All these were got answered by reading the Bible, by reading the Christian book, by listening to the Christian philosophers, good thinkers, those theologians. So I got convinced and convicted that I was missing a really a great thing in my life. I was such, I realized that I'm the fool of fools. I'm knowledgeless, I'm illiterate. I began, so because I was so much had this pride of knowledge, I know everything. But after reading the Bible so deeply, I realized, no, I'm the knowledgeless, I'm truly illiterate, I'm a fool of fools. And I began reading Bible I've never read before. Everything I found in the Bible has a purpose, and do's and don'ts which I was questioning are for the betterment of for me. I found
Mm.
that no, real freedom comes with do's and don'ts,
Yes.
you know. So I started realizing those things. And according to Hebrew 4:12, that Bible, yeah, word of the Lord is a double-edged sword. And I found that God is above, and the fear of God is beginning of knowledge. And that day, I must tell you, ma'am, and on that
Mm.
day I realized the verse John 8, John chapter 8 verse 32, which I read in the banner of my church, that you will know the truth, and truth will set you
Mm.
free.
Mm.
And I just saw that word was becoming real, because I felt so much freedom in myself, in my thought process, you know, in the lifestyle I was living in. So I found that Bible is inherent word of God and 100% true, and it says what it says, and it is not a blind faith. And I just got to know the importance of blood, and importance of sacrifice of Jesus and his death, and this all started making sense to me. So after prayers, I made a decision that I should extend the kingdom of God, and I left my entrepreneurship and everything. I thought I should get into the full-time ministry based on that is apologetics ministry, based on the passage you read in the beginning, First Peter 3:15, that but in your hearts rever Christ as Lord, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you, the give the reason for the hope that you have.
Mhm.
Okay, so then when I was just started following this, then I started, and you know, encountered all my those people, my friends, those who were questioning, and those who made me to doubt my faith. Now I was able to stand in front of them and started giving them answer in gentleness and in respect.
Mhm.
So that's how these three tragedies shaped my worldview. Now I'm totally committed to extending God's kingdom, and really praise God for giving me, you know, took me those three, took me with these three tragedies. that really changed me from within. So that was my story in very brief.
Ugh, that's a phenomenal story just to see how God just continued to work and work and work and work. Even when, we think we have part of it and you were getting going there and it was kind of like being sucked back a little bit into the worldly ways. And it's just, that's one of the most amazing things about God is just that he doesn't give up on us.
True.
And
Amen.
he took you where you were and he used those different circumstances in your life to draw himself closer to you. And I can see in your demeanor and by watching your YouTube channel and your amazing quest to answer these important questions that pretty much everybody has had at one point in time or another. And that's what I really admire about you is that you're not afraid of the hard questions. And you're just willing to jump in and talk to some people who have the knowledge, read your Bible. And I just want to applaud you for that and how exciting your testimony is. And um, why don't you give some of our listeners some encouragement and tips about how you go about sharing your faith, especially, in a part of the world where you live where, and honestly, in America here too, there's a lot of people that say they're Christians, but we don't really know for sure. And so, what would be your encouragement and tips for sharing your faith?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, that encouragement and tips. So all these encouragement tips are from my story, from my experience. That first I would say, I'm assuming that you're asking for the people, those who really want to do uh, for the Lord, they really want to do extend the God's kingdom. So keeping those people in mind, I would say that if you will definitely go through doubts and questions, even if you are, especially at this young age, because you are exposed to the internet, and the internet is a vast notion of all the philosophies, and everybody is allowed to express their thoughts, and those thoughts can make sense to you as it made sense to me at that time. So I would say, and for the encouragement, if you really have a questions and doubt, please, you just know that you will find the answers. Okay. And I would encourage you, if you have questions, just write it down on your paper. Just do not just tangle with them, just do not keep thinking about those questions. Just write them down and ask your pastor, or go, if you don't find satisfactory answer, then go to the internet. You will find 3,000 number of sound biblical answers to those questions. Okay, people have posted free resources on the internet, like you can you can watch this Coffee and Bible Time channel also, where you did these with their videos also helps you to what you go through day to day life. So seek those questions and continue to seek. Just do not give up on them, because every Bible says the Bible has all the answers, whether it is mathematical question, a physics question, or whatever, astronomical question, all the answers are given in the Bible. You just have to see. And second tip would be, I would give, that do not be disheartened if you're not able to answer or convince someone. Okay, usually here happen in India that you're not able to convince someone because people are so much into their faith. Okay, so do not be disheartened. Just you have to share your part, right? And then conversion and conviction is the work of the Holy Spirit. So
Yes.
yeah, one more point is that in India you cannot boldly share the gospel. So what I found is that if you're hesitant, also people are afraid of sharing. So if you're hesitant sharing your faith, then I would suggest you that share your experiences, conviction, and testimonies instead of going directly or questioning them about their faith. Just share your experiences like you do with your friends, and that's what my encouragement tips would be.
Absolutely. Because no one can refute your own testimony and how God
True.
has worked in your life. And as you look back on your own life and see where God has brought you from, it's miraculous, right? I mean, when you think about where you've been and where you are now, you can see that God has been at work in a mighty way. And when you tell that story to someone else, you can't refute that. And so
Sure.
I love your advice there. I think that's a great suggestion. So I noticed on your YouTube channel that you do interview a lot of apologetics teachers. So tell us about some of your favorite teachers and authors and how exploring that has really helped strengthen your faith.
Yeah, so I listen to multiple people. I read multiple people, whether theologians, including apologists, professors. So I usually, most of the time, I listen to R.C. Sproul from Ligonier Ministries.
He's fantastic.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so he really helped me a lot knowing the actual Bible is, because uh, the way he explains, the revelation he gets. So I would encourage, and my favorites is R.C. Sproul, then John MacArthur as second, and Dr. William Lane Craig, and from his organization, I'm taking the course also. And then if in India there is Joseph Paul, and Dr. Vishal Mangalwadi. These are the few people, and Dr. Hugh Rose and Dr. Frank Turing. So all these people actually helped me in some of the other way to build my Christian worldview. So these are the people I would say that these helped me a lot.
Thank you. R.C. Sproul, for those who might not know, he's passed away now, but he has a ministry called Ligonier Ministries, and you can go on their website and you can listen to all of his historical teachings and sermons and everything. And I wholeheartedly agree. He was actually very instrumental for both my husband and myself early in our Christian walk.
Wow.
He has a gift of being able to explain very complex, deep theological issues. So, all right. So, in all of the interviews that you have done, where your guests are answering challenging questions about faith, which one of those was most impactful to you and why?
Okay. So I had 20 plus guests now. It is really difficult to choose one of the episodes, but I would say that I really had this question about that why in the Old Testament God looks so angry,
Mhm.
and in the New Testament He is more gracious. So I interviewed Dr. Paul Coupin, who is a theologian and analytical philosopher, and he has written a book, Is God a Moral Monster? So he explained very well that it is a theological question. He explained very well that God is not at all angry in the Old Testament. He has been consistent through the Old Testament to the New Testament, because it is the writing of the text. It was different. The language was used is like the king used. Like they really don't mean it when you say that kill them or enslave them. It is expression of saying them. So he cleared me that God has been consistently gracious, and he gave a lot of time to the people of Israelites, and to the Sodom and Gomorrah before destroying them. He gave ample amount of time. It is not just they did wrong and they just
Mhm.
God wiped them out.
Yes.
So one of those interviews, and also with I interviewed Rosalind Picard. She's a professor in MIT. So she was an atheist. So we were discussing how does science point to God? Does science point to God? And in her research, she read all other religions and being an atheist. She found that science is actually pointing towards God,
Mhm.
whatever you're finding. So those were the some revolutionary episodes for me. Apart
Ah,
from them, Dr. William Lane Craig's one also.
ah. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, everyone, please go and check out Rajat. Biblical Demand is the name of the YouTube channel. And I want to encourage everyone just to check it out because you tackle all these really hard questions. And it's a good place where in one spot you can find some great theologians here answering those questions. So Before we go, I just want to wrap up here by asking you a couple of questions that we ask all of our guests. And the first one is, what Bible do you use and which translation do you prefer?
Okay, if I want to read just, for example, a meeting is going on and someone says read the passage or read the Bible verse, for that I use NIV, New International Version. But for my personal study, I use a study Bible by John MacArthur, that is a ESV, English Standard Version. So with that, I thoroughly read because it has a footnotes also, the history also. So for my personal Bible study, I use the study Bible by John MacArthur.
Fantastic. My husband uses that one too. That's a great
Wow.
Bible. Okay. How about, do you have any favorite like Bible journaling accessories or other things that you use to enhance your study time?
I usually write on my diary with my hand,
Hmm.
in handwritten. So I journal it. Whatever do in my personal study, everything I write it down and just meditate on that and get the things and insight from that. So I don't use some digital apps or some not. Just I write on my diary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then how about your favorite Bible app or study tools that you can find on the website?
Okay. So I've downloaded one app that is by Indians only. But usually I always use a laptop. So on laptop, I use Bible Gateway,
Hmm.
and second is BibleHub.com. So because Bible Hub, they have different document commentaries on that, and also by Bible Gateway have different comments. So I both of them I use frequently.
Oh, those are great suggestions. Check them out, Bible Gateway and Bible Hub.
Bible Hub, yeah.
Yeah, those are both great suggestions. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your transparency and sharing your personal testimony. And I really wish you well. I encourage all of our listeners to check out your YouTube channel. And for our listeners, I just want to encourage you to be bold and confident and let the Holy Spirit work in and through you in a mighty way, such that others can know the love we have in Jesus and they can join us for all of eternity. So begin today by heading over to Coffee and Bible Time website, where I will have linked there some books by authors that Rajat mentioned in our Amazon shop, along with, you can also go to coffeeandbibletime.com to see our beautiful prayer journals. Thank you so much, Rajat, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
All righty. We love you all. Have a blessed day.